Hey, my creative friends. It is time again today to think about creativity and how it plays out in our life and what it feels like to us. And I have been repeating the phrase, "You have a creative heartbeat, listen for it," for 74 videos now. And I never really talked about what that means. I mean, you can figure out some things, but so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Kind of exactly what it means to me and why I say it and why I think it's important. So, but first off, since we're talking about heartbeats, we're talking about it's a creative heartbeat. So I want you to just real fast for me, take your pulse, find your pulse. So I know some of you are going to find it right away because you're trained for this. There it is. I got mine. But for me, because I couldn't find it the first 3 times, I'm not going to say I'm dead. Oh, couldn't find it. I'm dead. It's not how it works. It's still there. I just have to find it. I just have to figure it out. And for me, it's always taken me a long time to be able to figure out where it is exactly. Some people can nail it first time, but some of us go around, and as I thought about it, I thought, what if I said, I can't find it. It's illogical. It defies reason to say I'm dead because I couldn't find my pulse. So that kind of is the whole idea behind the heartbeat, is that it's there. Whether you think it's there or not, or whether you felt it's pulsing or not, it's there. And I've talked about, we were all born creative in one of my previous videos. Listen to that one because I think it really, and there's several others too that really kind of hit that nail on the head about that we all have that creativeness in us. So you have a creative heartbeat, and I just have to laugh because sometimes we just go, no, I'm not creative. Now, you may not be able to find it. You may not be able to understand it. You may not haven't figured out you aren't trained for it. Just like I know some of my friends, if I said find your heartbeat, they could find it like that and it would be no problem. And it wouldn't even be a second thought for them. And so somebody says for me to be creative, that's the same way I feel about being creative. It's just happens like that, not even a second thought. I understand what to do. I'm kind of trained for that. So the idea that your creative heartbeat and the phrase listen for it is part of that. It's not, you need to be trained, you need to figure out. And so I did the thesaurus because the thesaurus is my friend, and list some of the things that were synonyms for listen. And this is very interesting when you put it in the context of having a creative heartbeat and listening for it. So you have to concentrate. You have to concentrate. When I was just doing my pulse, I had to concentrate to find it. It wasn't just, I'm just a little lame that way. And then you have to take notice. You have to welcome it. How many times do we have something and we go, oh, no. You have to give audience to it. You have to let it, listening is letting it have its say. Letting your creative heartbeat have its say. Listen to it, consider it, hear it out, entertain it, catch it, admit you have. I thought these were all interesting. Accept it, attend closely, obey, and obey it. So those were all interesting. So when you put that, you have a creative heartbeat, accept it, you have a creative heartbeat, take notice of it, you have a creative heartbeat, welcome it, you have a creative heartbeat, obey it. It starts to give new meaning when you expand that word listen. And so that's part of what I'm talking about. So if you take the antonyms of what listen is and put it to your creative heartbeat, I have a creative heartbeat, but I turn it away. I have a creative heartbeat, but I neglect it. I forget it. I refuse it. I miss it. I reject it. I dispute with it. I deny it. Just like saying, I don't have a heartbeat, so I must be dead. I must mean I don't have a heart. You deny it. So the act of listening is not denying it. The act of listening is not forgetting it. So, and I've always kind of believed that this is part of us. I mean, a lot of people will say, oh, well, you're talented, so it's easy. I don't think I've always been especially talented. I mean, when I listen to some people and they say, well, I've drawn since I was a kid and I've done this since, and I'm like, I did some things, but I didn't do that. So I don't think it was not something that was just out there compared to some, but obviously out there compared to others. So this has always been in the back of my mind that we have this creative heartbeat, creative heart, and it beats, and we have to listen for it. But then Elizabeth Gilbert wrote the book Big Magic, and it has to do with creative living beyond fear. And it's a great book. I think I agree with almost everything in it. So you should, I highly recommend reading that. You should read that if you want a little bit of insight into creativity. So one of the quotes that she has in her book, that we're going to talk a little bit about, it really kind of hit the head of the nail when I read it. That was what I was talking about with a creative heartbeat and listening for it. So it says, look, I don't know what's hidden within you. I have no way of knowing such a thing. You yourself may barely know it, although I suspect you've caught glimpses. So, I think that's true. Sometimes you catch glimpses, sometimes you feel it, but you hardly know it's there. It's like this little fleeting thought or this little fleeting, oh, I'd like to, but then you do the neglect it or deny it. She goes on to say, I don't know your capacities, your aspirations, your longings, or your secret talents. And I'm going to stop again. I think everybody has some secret leanings to being creative. And I say that because every time somebody finds out I'm an artist, they will, I would say 90% of the time, invariably say, oh, you should paint, and then describe what it is that I should paint. And I always think, why are you telling me when it's your thought, your feeling, your intuitiveness? Why don't you paint it? I don't tell them that because it's not the time to do that. But it's so interesting to me that they have something inside of them and they would not even recognize it as being creative. Yet they just it flows out of them. And so I think sometimes we have these secret things inside of us that we don't tell anybody, but they just kind of spill out sometimes. Okay, back to what she's saying. But surely something wonderful is sheltered inside you. Isn't it? And she goes on. The universe buries strange jewels deep within us all. And then, first off, I love that description, buries strange jewels. Not just jewels, because sometimes in our world, we get so caught up in the pretty and the beautiful and the normal that we don't take into account that sometimes the strange, the different, is what is really noticeable, is really unique. And the combinations of things makes it strange, makes it different. So the universe buries strange jewels deep within us all and then stands back to see if we can find them. The hunt to uncover those jewels, that's creative living. The courage to go on that hunt in the first place, that's what separates a mundane existence from a more enchanted one. And I love that word, enchanted. Who doesn't want to live an enchanted life? I think we all do. We all want those kind of secret things, those secret jewels to come out and have an enchanted life. I kind of feel like there's been that kind of thread through my life that it's enchanted because of some of the benefits that I've received from living a creative life. So she goes on. Oh, and the thing too, well, I'll read the last part. The often surprising results of that hunt, that's what I call big magic. So I just love this, how she has done this. Of course, she's a writer, and that's one of her gifts. And so she's able to articulate those things in words to be able to have somebody like me go, oh yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. But I love that. The universe something wonderful sheltered inside you, and the universe buries strange jewels and then stands back to see if you can find them. And I love that because there's a choice. Just like listen for it, you have to actively do something to make it happen. You have to actively do something to recognize it. Nobody's going to force you to be creative. Nobody's going to say, hey, try this. Hey, go explore that. Hey, take some time and observe that. Nobody's going to do that unless you have a creative coach or something, but nobody's going to just one-off and say that. You have to work at that kind of thing. It's kind of like when I always say my family, the hard things come up automatically. They spring up like have a life of their own. It's the fun things, the celebrations, it's all those other things that bring life to you that you have to plan. And this is a creative heartbeat, a creative heart. And being creative has to be planned. It has to be listened for. So that, I thought, that was Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic. I thought that was on point. So what stops us? She also lists in her book things that stop us from doing that. And you're going to recognize this list. She has a list that she has in her book. And you're going to recognize this. Okay, I'm just going to kind of go through these. I have no talent. I'm afraid I'm going to be criticized or ignored. Or there's no market for me in what I'm doing. Nobody wants that. Somebody's already done it. Somebody's done it better. Somebody, I can never do it like them. I'm an amateur. I'm a fake. I am embarrassed to tell people what I really want to do. This is one I hear too. It's a giant waste of time. I think somebody even wrote that in the comments. I feel like it's a waste of time. And effort and money. Giant waste of time, effort, and money is what Elizabeth Gilbert says. And sometimes it is a waste of money. Sometimes I have bought things and it's like, oh, that didn't turn out like I thought it would. And I keep at it and it's like, I don't enjoy this at all. And so it kind of is a waste of money. And so sometimes when these thoughts come up, there is a little validity to them. There is, but that's when we have to listen for it. That's when we have to get past it. That's when we have to reject what the other voices are saying. So more things. No time, that's a huge one. I think that's the number one thing for women to say, I have no time. And no space, no opportunity to focus. I have no training. It upsets my family when I do this. What will others say of me? What will my friends say? My work friends? What will they say? Afraid of that you've neglected your creativity too long and it just won't be able to find it. I mean, the list goes on and she finally says, I don't have all day to continue with this list. And it's so true. But these thoughts will kind of rage, especially if you are in the beginning of reigniting and listening for that creative heartbeat and finding that pulse. It will, these things, she says, all end up in one word: is scary. It's all fear. It's all fear-based. Oh, I'm wearing my Fearless shirt today. How apropos is that? So it's scary. Once you start to do it and you are in it, it's a way of life for you. It's not that it doesn't, these thoughts don't come up. It's just you don't entertain them. It's almost like in video 50 that we talked about the negative loop, getting rid of that, and then having a positive loop in video 55. It's like you learn how to address those things as you go along. And the benefits that you've received from being creative outweigh those kinds of things. And so so you start to be able to manage that better. Not that it sometimes completely goes away, because if something's really scary, so for instance, doing these videos, it was really scary to me. And some of those things came across and it was like, okay, no. You push through them. It teaches you a lot about yourself, which goes to another quote I wanted to read from this, I think it was from Wired to Create. It says, Frank X. Barron came to realize that creative people have remarkable capacity to become intimate with themselves. that's what I think is one of the biggest benefits of creativity, is to be honest with yourself. You start to become intimate with yourself. According to psychologist Ruth Richards, they dare to look within, even at one's irrational and less conscious material, including one's shadow materials. And Richard refers to this capacity to be able to look at yourself intimately as courageous openness. So the whole process of overcoming those things and to understanding I do have a creative heartbeat, I need to listen to it, and I need to move past some of these things that are limiting me, that you understand yourself and you develop yourself in a way that you will just go, why did I wait so long to be creative? Why? And all this creative research and stuff like that, it never says you have to do a particular painting or write a particular book before you'll get these benefits. Nothing says that. And so it's what you choose to do, but do it. So I think also that is the whole point of these videos, and the reason I say you have a creative heartbeat, so listen for it. The videos are trying to help us and remind me in a bigger way, and because I'm researching these things a little bit when I do them, that it's so, I cannot say how much we need to have this in our lives, women. We do. We need to have that creativity. And I don't care what you do. The universe doesn't care what you do, as long as you're doing it and having those benefits come into your life. There was another quote I was going to read, but I don't have it. I didn't finish writing it down. I'm seeing it, and it's like, where did the rest of that quote go? But another day. You do have hidden treasures in you. You strange gems. You do have a creative heart, and therefore a creative heartbeat. And don't be like me, where you're looking around for it and you can't find it immediately, so you say I don't have one. It's illogical. So that's the tip today. Listen for it. Truly listen for that creative yearning you have, that secret thing inside of you, and don't be afraid of the scary list. Don't be afraid of it. So that's the tip for today. And yes, you have a creative heartbeat. Listen for it. And I will be back tomorrow to talk more about creativity and to share some thoughts. Share some of your thoughts with me about how you feel about creativity, about how you listen for it. How do you go about listening for it? How do you go about welcoming it, or accepting it, admitting it? What do you do? So share some of those thoughts. Or maybe some of the thoughts, maybe add to the scary list. I don't know. Share your thoughts. I will see you tomorrow.